Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Frazier and Deeter's Business Beat. I'm John Ray, alongside Frazier and Deeter managing partner, Roger Lusby. Roger.
Good morning, John. It's May 18th. We got past the May 17th tax deadline.
I thought about you yesterday.
I feel refreshed. I feel excited.
I know. You look like $1 million after that deadline came and went. So congratulations on that, getting through another season. But I guess you've probably got some folks that extended, one or two.
We had quite a few. So,
I'll bet.
Myself included.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. It's the shoe cobbler, right? You work on everybody else's shoes before you work on yours,
well,
right?
We're like most people. We're still waiting on K1s. So.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Well, we've got two great guests, folks. We've got Jeff Smith and Dan Dunn. And one company's not good enough. Two companies not good enough. They've got three, right? OneDirect Health, T-Rex, and Restore Metabolix. And we're going to hear a little bit about what they're up to. Jeff, Dan, welcome.
Thank you. After you say it like that, it's three. Yeah, that's no wonder I'm busy. I'm out in Phoenix today, and I appreciate the opportunity to jump on a call and kind of share the story of OneDirect. So thanks for including Dan and myself.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So Jeff, let's talk a little bit about what you guys are up to with OneDirect and these other companies.
Right. Well, OneDirect is a post-operative care company that works primarily with veterans and the work comp community, those patients that have had an accident on the job, and they typically are the worst and the least compliant patient population. We have a piece of equipment that's called the T-Rex. It really stands for Total Range Extender or Exerciser. So we have a overpressure stretching equipment that we actually take to the patient's home and allow them to actually do the stretching exercises to help them after a surgery recover more rapidly to get back to work or back to their daily activities. We stumbled upon this back in 2014 with another company we were involved in, and that's actually how I met Roger and got involved with Frazier Deeter. His brother and I were partners in a company called Amendia. Prior to that, I was in banking, and the company Amendia is a spinal hardware company, and Tim and another partner, we started that back in 2008. From that experience, it was a spinal hardware company. From that experience, you learned a lot about how patients respond post-operatively, and we saw a definite gap out there in the fact that the surgeon did a great job, but who could hold the patient accountable? The doc did a good job, PT does a great job, but at the end of the day, the payer and the employer do their thing, but it really boils down to, is the patient compliant? And what OneDirect, the company I'm involved in, we're lucky enough to have an investor group to come in and see the vision too. What we're trying to do is actually, balance the scales. We actually have a smart technology where we can see remotely how these patients are doing, help them get on the equipment and do the right thing, but it's also a way to show, hey, look, the doc did a great job, the physical therapy's doing a great job, but the patient's not doing what they need to do the other 5 days of the week. We think that what we're onto is an interesting solution to give visibility and clarity into that patient's home. Who's with me today is Dan Dunn, our CFO. He's my right-hand man. His last name is appropriate. If you give Dan a task, it will be done by the end of business day. And I'm just fortunate to have him as a sidekick with the three companies, and I'll share a little more about these companies as we go along, but I want to introduce Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great accolade, and probably number one task you want, or a trait you want to have in a CFO, I should say.
Exactly, and he knows where all the cash is. That's
like finding those graves. Know where all the bodies are.
That's exactly right.
I love it.
But Jeff's been a friend, a partner, a shareholder, an investor now for 13 plus years, and really has really developed a nice, successful track, especially in the healthcare industry. And so that's why I'm always excited when Jeff is heading up some of these new ventures for our investor group.
Thank you, Roger. I mean, I'm a banker by training with Synovus Financial Corporation, and have always had an entrepreneurial kind of spirit. And the healthcare industry, to me, Roger and I were talking about it earlier. We live in a world of not healthcare, but it's really sick care. And if you think about it, the docs are programmed to react off of. You come in to see them. It's not around wellness. It's around what's your issue. Let's go ahead and treat it and slap you on the rear end and get you back out in the street. In the world, what we're trying to do with OneDirect and the company Restore Metabolix that you mentioned, which is our third company, is really around wellness and preventative maintenance. So, we see where the market's going, and we think that, trying to change it from sick care back to health care and wellness is where the future of medicine's going.
Well, and I think that's certainly one of the benefits of the COVID pandemic is that people have realized that America's not in great health, and there's been a lot more focus on wellness and people getting in better. I'll call it better shape, but it's more than just exercise. It's dietary and everything else that goes with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it accentuated it, I guess. So, and it also highlighted. I mean, we were fortunate enough during the pandemic, even though the caseload went down significantly in the VA hospitals around the country. But also, if you think about it, on the work comp side, that reduced significantly too, because you have less people working. They were all hunkered down at home. They're not in their cars having, accidents in their trucks and vehicles that they're going to and from their work or in their van or what have you. So we maintained, actually, we were up a couple of 100,000 during the pandemic, and I think that's attributed to us having a home-based physical therapy platform that we can, monitor these patients if they do get, need a procedure done, and they can do it safely in their home versus worried about going to a physical therapy facility where multiple people are potentially catching COVID.
And talk about the types of people that you're being able to help, Jeff.
Right now, our main focus on OneDirect is, as I mentioned, was the workers' comp and the veteran, our veterans, which to me is a patriot. I love taking care of our vets. I love going out and setting these patients up. On Restore Metabolix, it's a different patient population where we are working with all walks of life, but anyone with type 2 primarily, pre-diabetic, or any type of metabolic disorders. And this company called Restore Metabolix has an insulin infusion treatment that's state-of-the-art and just getting started. But what we're doing is resetting their metabolism and reversing what you'll see out there in the world is insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance. And as we get older and the things that we put in our mouth and we drink and our metabolic makeup, we used to have to go catch a buffalo out on the range and kill it to eat it. Now you can just drive through Wendy's and get a buffalo chicken sandwich. And the convenience of food is also kind of has been a major force in this diabetes epidemic. You want to talk about an epidemic, it's diabetes. What we found, the reason why Restore Metabolix is part of a portfolio of companies that we're involved in, we recognize that if I could change the metabolism of a patient before they go to have an elective surgery, I'm going to drastically increase the outcome of that patient. What do I mean by that? The patient, if I can get their metabolism by biomimicking what a pancreas does, and improve the 56 trillion cells in their body where they're burning energy more efficiently, I'm going to have less inflammation, less scarring, less chance of infection, which 8 to 10% of all orthopedic surgeries end up in an infection. We think that what we're doing will bend the cost curve significantly once we prove this as a standard of care before a patient that's a pre-diabetic or diabetic gets on an operating table. So in a nutshell, we think we can drastically help the healthcare system, reducing costs by them doing these treatments.
Wow. Great stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I didn't have anything. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were jumping in there. Folks, we're here chatting with Jeff Smith and Dan Dunn. OneDirect, T-Rex, and Restore Metabolix are the three companies we're chatting about. You talked about diabetes. Let's talk about and what's at stake there, and the epidemic of diabetes. Let's talk about what's at stake with workers' comp and just the size of the problem that you're addressing.
Well, from a macro standpoint, John, the first time I saw this was about a year ago. It's funny, March of last year, right before the pandemic, we realized that we had an issue with the COVID-19. I reached out to one of my spine docs that I leaned on quite significantly, Dr. Luis Duarte down in San Angelo, Texas, and he does a lot of complex spine procedures. And I called him, and he actually picked up. He was in the OR, and you could hear the drills going in the background. And I go, Dr. Duarte, I just saw this interesting insulin, pulsatized insulin infusion treatment. And what percentage of your patients are either diabetic, pre-diabetic, type 1 or 2, when I say that, or Parkinson's? And the guy goes, Jeff is between 80 and 90%. He's in San Angelo, Texas. He's got there's a Latin American population there. And I've learned more in the last year than I want to claim as it relates to the diabetes and the demographics. But if you come from a more nomadic type of region, it seems to be significantly higher percentages. Our African American community, the Latino community, it can be upwards of 40 or 50% that are dealing with these symptoms. And again, it's diet, it's exercise, it's just your makeup. And back to my buffalo versus buffalo chicken that you drive through at Wendy's. So it's a significant problem. It's not going away. Our Asian Indian community, our American Indian community, all have high percentages. You get around the world, China, Japan, they're all in the 20 to 30% range. So it's a you want to talk about a real pandemic, that's it. I mean, these folks are dealing with, when you're dealing with diabetes, it's not just the sugar killer. You're dealing with cardiovascular, you're dealing with neuro and neurological issues. And we think that this is a base platform to add other biologics, can really reset the patient's metabolism upwards of 15 to 20 years. The energy level goes up. They're burning on all cylinders again, like they did 20 years ago. Less inflammation, et cetera. So it'll allow the patient to be more active. It also allows them to control their sugar too. So, which we're seeing with patients that are compliant with this, we're seeing upwards of 50% to 75% of the medications that they're on are being reduced. So anyway, it's an exciting time, and I'm just hopeful that the good Lord will let me hang out for another 25 years and see this thing really materialize into a standard of care.
Yeah, because it's obviously a huge marketplace out there.
Yes, indeed. If you've got 300 million people and you just conservatively, it's just 10% of the patient population, which is at least 30 to 60 million people just here in the United States. You get to Turkey and India and China, that's 35, 40% of the patient are dealing with these problems.
Right. And although it's more commonplace the older you get, it certainly affects people in every age range.
Exactly. As we become more sedentary with the kids, playing video games and other things, and not going out and playing and riding the bikes, et cetera, I think it's going to only increase. And at more early stages are we going to see this problem.
So, Dan, I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to add or anything that you were seeing in terms of growth for any of the companies.
With OneDirect, coming through the pandemic, we were very fortunate to stay in a level playing field. As we're looking forward, we think with some of the technology that we have, especially the smart technology where people can go out and see what patients are doing and how they're progressing in their treatment, we do see that we're going to have an upside in our revenue stream with that. Especially as we become more mobile and people are working out of their homes, I think that type of technology is really going to be a driving force for OneDirect. And then when you look at Restore Metabolix, coming out of our infancy stage, all we see is upside potential. It's going out, finding those rural hospitals, finding those doctors that are looking to make a change to a different type of treatment method. And once we get people on board with that, I think the sky is going to be the limit for Restore Metabolix in bringing on people, driving revenue, and making changes in people's lives.
And the rural hospital is where you are today, correct?
Correct. I'm down in Baxter, Georgia at Appling Healthcare. They're one of our first clients. We've gotten them probably 60, 70 days in, and they now have a 3-week waiting period for people to come in and do treatments. The word of mouth is going out there. People are seeing the results, and the hospital is more than happy as far as how we perform for them and how they're getting treatments out and performing for their patients.
Exciting.
Yep.
And share a little bit, Dan. You probably had some conversation with them on their projected growth for the next 12 months. Did Randy share that with you?
He did. He's looking at this as being a groundbreaking event for the hospital and for him, as far as adding new clinics into some of the different areas that they have a reach into, and then also some of his grander plans, the bigger picture of going out into some of the different areas out here in the southeastern part of the state, bringing on those hospitals, bringing on those clinics, and really developing a company that we could go out and we could really start telling a good story, both to new patients as well as growing our company and take it into Wall Street and let them know what's going on with with what we're doing.
It's definitely exciting. To add to that, to what Dan's saying there, if you think about rural communities, what we call deserts for healthcare, these little rural access hospitals are dying on the vine. They can't recruit enough surgeons to keep the patients in that community and support those patients. So, if you're going to have a procedure done, you're going to Savannah, or you're going to Macon, or you're going to Albany or Thomasville. A lot of these smaller towns that have 20 to 50,000 population in these counties have a hard time supporting that hospital and having adequate and proper care. With this, there's such a large number of those, 20,000 population, there's 5,000 minimum diabetic population there that are dealing with all kinds of interesting problems. And, if we can keep them at home and if we can get them into the hospital doors once a month, it's going to, one, make the patients and that community healthier, but two, it's going to drive revenues to that hospital so they can maintain it and keep the facilities open. Randy and some of the folks that we're working with at Mercer University are starting to have conversations around how to support and drive these docs back to the rural areas. We have a couple of opportunities there to help and make a tremendous impact in South Georgia, but around the entire Southeast and the country as we roll this out.
Well, Jeff, probably no industry more so than healthcare has seen the significant changes in the last 10 years. It's actually what's given us a number of different opportunities with some of these companies. What do you foresee some of the changes in healthcare going forward, and what might that look like?
From my perspective, I think we're going to. I think that the general practitioners in internal medicine, they have so many patients that are piling up that are dealing with these metabolic issues. And, you can mask it with drugs, but eventually just, you got to continue adding to it. Instead of 500 milligrams, you got to get to 1,000 and just keep masking it. I think the docs are kind of fed up with those that have been in it 20 and 30 years. They're recognizing they're doing things the same way and expecting different results is crazy. I think they're looking for more holistic approaches, things that allows, the patients to kind of reset, as you talked about earlier, the wellness aspect of this. What's included in that wellness aspect are the wonderful things that are going on with biologics and exosomes and other interest stem cell research that's going on out there. And hopefully what we can do is diagnose a patient early enough on as it relates to even joint replacement. If we can catch it 5 and 10 years earlier and do a maintenance program with those patients, we may be able to avoid having to have a total knee or a total hip, and by injections and other things. So as an ex-baker, I'm also a guinea pig on a lot of these things. I'm not going to sell it unless I'm willing to put it in my body and try to heal myself the more natural way. But I think what you're going to see is less invasive surgeries. You're going to have, and you're going to also have other alternatives that over the next 10 and 15 years that are going to be now look kind of way out there and kind of voodoo medicine. You're going to have it as become standard of care over the next 10 years because these stem cell, as they get more outcomes data, et cetera, I think you'll see it stands up as a nice solution to prevent and to push out those bigger procedures, which cost the healthcare system a lot of money. The example I use is a Dr. Hinman, who is down in south of us, down in the St. Augustine area. He controls a 30,000 patient population for Humana, and he's got a universal risk attached to every one of those 30,000 seniors, is Humana Plus. And he gets a set amount to manage that patient population, and he pays for all their health care needs. If he saves money off of that annual revenue number, and it's significant, he keeps it in his pocket. He is the only doctor in the Humana organization that's allowed to use stem cells, and he uses that as on the front end and aggressively uses those to prevent them from having that total hip or total knee procedure. Again, pushing it out as far as you can, because every year goes by, the science gets better. The outcomes data, the less invasive it is. I mean, if you 10 years, if you can push it out 10 years ago, 90% of the procedures, knees and hips, were done in a hospital. Now that's probably 50%. So taking it from a hospital to an ASC, it, cuts the cost in half. And that's what Hinman's doing is really actively managing that 30,000 population. He sees those patients. You think, oh, maybe once a year. He sees them 6.5 times a year. So he's proactively managing the healthcare of that 30,000 population. And that's where I see medicine going, because he is at risk of those dollars and of those patients. If they get sick, he pays for dialysis. If they get sick, a heart attack, he pays for that emergency room visit. And it's holding that doctor accountable. And I think, to me, there's some magic in that. Let them drive healthcare.
Look, we're pulling out, headed to Waycroft to talk to a couple of dogs.
There you go. Okay. Well, Jeff, Dan, this has been great. And y'all are obviously doing some great work. And I can't imagine that folks that have heard what you've had to say, there might be some folks that want to get in touch with you. I'd love it if you could share your coordinates.
Sure. I'll give you my cell phone. That's the easiest way to reach me. 706-289-8874. This is Jeff Smith. And the easiest way to reach the company would be jsmith@OneDirectHealth.com. That's a lot, but that's OneHealth. OneDirect, DIRECT, OneDirectHealthcare.health.com. And then Smith at Restore Metabolix, and that's RESTOR, and Metabolix, METABOLIX.com. But love to talk to anybody or send me an email, and we connect you to the right folks in the areas. Again, we appreciate everything that Frazier and Deeter does for us to keep us compliant as it relates to our taxes and financial advice. And we're just excited about where we're heading with all of these companies, and just appreciate the chance to share what's going on.
Well, Jeff, Dan, I want to thank you both for your time today. This was a first for us. We have a Zoom radio show with two of you coming from different locations, and we pulled it off successfully, John.
Absolutely. No problem.
Nice work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks so much, guys.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And folks, just a quick reminder that Frazier and Deeter is one of the fastest growing accounting and advisory firms in the U.S. because they serve the emerging needs of their clients as they evolve. They serve clients from the global Fortune 1000 to growing private businesses by accounting for today while advising for the future. Frazier and Deeter prides itself on investing in relationships to make a difference. For more information, go to FrazierDeeter.com. Roger, another good one today.
Well, thank you, John. I think it went well.
Yeah, I think it did. And
we will see you next month.
I look forward to it. Folks, and for Roger Lusby, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on another edition of Frazier and Deeter's Business Beat.